So the project begins. So yeah, to wire up the headlights, which is now in the car, and there is the where is it? This one is the headlights connector. That is the fuel pump connector. So in order to wire up the headlights connector, you have to wire up 5 different wires underneath your dashboard, which is going to be under here, and there's a J533 module that you're supposed to wire them wires into in order for the headlights to work. So at the moment we are wiring up the headlights, making our own wiring and splicing our own wiring, shall I say, and putting on these little spade connectors and whatnot in order to connect to these right here. A timely process, but I'm sure it'll be all worth it in the end. So we'll cut back in when I have 3 more days wired up and they're back together, and then we will go pulling apart the dashboard. So now that that's done, which we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, they're wired up, ready to go, connected to my new wiring, which is here. So as I said, this is for the headlights and that one is for the fuel pump. And for the difference is, so this one for the fuel pump, which is different to your normal GTI. So this is not here. This fuel pump isn't here in a GTI and a Mark 5. It's a 2-wheel drive. You'll only have this fuel pump. So when it goes 4-wheel drive, then that you'll get this fuel pump. So then how to wire up this fuel pump. So the difference is, in your normal GTI, your original fuel pump, which is over here, will read a full tank on your dash. So when you put in the 4-wheel drive, the tank is now split in 2, which is called a saddle tank. So then you got to wire up this fuel pump sensor to your dash, because what's going to happen is this one's going to read half a tank and that one's now going to read half a tank in order to get your full tank. So if you didn't wire up this separate wiring for this fuel pump sensor, you would only ever get half a tank of petrol registering when you have a full tank. So now we've got to do that, but for the time being, before we do that, which we have to pull the dash clocks out and underneath the dash out, but before we do that, as you can see, this wiring I done previously, I have it all nicely done, so it's together, it's in one loom. I'm actually going to clean up this loom because this loom is like a jungle, so we'll cut back in when I have that done. And we're back. So there is the all-wheel drive wiring, the headlights wiring, now cleaned up. I have it nice and cleaned up, and I also have it labelled on the colour wires it goes to, because obviously that's all red, so I have it labelled to the colours of them wires, so I know where I'm going. So that length of wire has to reach, basically it's actually under the driver side footwell, so that length of wire actually has to reach in there, which it will, no problem. It's a decent bit of wiring, so I'm going to pull a bit of the carpet up and run it through. It's actually going to come this way and come around in here. This has got to go to the back of the dash, so that's going to as well come around this way and up and into the dash. So that is that so far. So we now have to get the J533 module now out from underneath the dashboard, which is just under here. Take that out, and I will cut back when I have that out in our hand, so we can explain then what needs to be done there. And we're back. So as I said, this has to go into the cluster, which is now no longer there. This is the cluster right here. It just comes out with these 2 little T20s down here. There's a T20 here and a T20 there, and out comes, you need to move your steering wheel all the way back and down. So basically when you get that out, then you have this, which will have this connector here that you can see right here in here. This fixes the connector here so it doesn't move. So you click that out, it slides that way and it comes out. But that stays part of that. There's clips here which are right here. You have to push in and this comes off. So this comes off. Then you have another, it's another casing that slides over it. This slides over it that way, so on that way. So there's these two clips you can see here. You spread them apart and slide that out. So as you can see, there's pin numbers on this as well. So you have pin 1, it starts here and goes all the way to pin 18. Then you have 19, it goes all the way to pin 36. So 36, right? So these wires, which are here, so you have there's 2 wires on your fuel pump, wire. So 2 out of 3 of these wires go to the cluster, and the other one goes to a ground. It grounds off somewhere, so you can just choose anywhere which is a good known ground on the car. So the 2 wires go to pin 16, which is the 3rd pin in from the top right, and then pin 23, which is pin 23, which is the 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So yeah, in there, which is the 4th one right here. So they pin into this pin here and this pin over here. Then you put your whole cluster back together, and then there are pins in for the cluster there for the fuel pump to read the correct level, which is, if I don't do that, this will constantly read just half a tank. When I have a full tank, that will just ever read half a tank. So now it's going to read a full tank now when we pin them in. And then the next module, which is under your feet, I've already taken it out. It's just under here. You have here. So this is your J533 module, and it pins into certain pins here. I will get along with that one now soon. We'll explain how that works. But for now, these pins have to be wired up. So I will wire them up, and then I'll get back to you when they're all wired up and the wiring is up through. I'm going to feed the wiring up through here so it looks nice and neat and you don't actually see it. I'll get back to you when this is all done. So as you can see now, I have just put in my own 2 pins into the cluster plug, which is pin 16 and 23 of the cluster plug. So I've took these pins out of something else. I've de-pinned the different plug that I've had lying around and put 2 pins on it and put 2 connectors on it. So now I can run my wiring up through here, down. I'm not going to put it in this, but I'll sellotape it to this so it's nice, and down, and I will crimp the new wires into this. So that should be a lot better then. And then I put the cluster back together. That's the cluster and the fuel pump done. Then it's just the Heldex wiring. So now we have it wired up. As you can see, my 2 wires coming up through here. I was originally going to come through here, but it was easier to come through here. So coming up through here, one's going into there, one's going into that pin. You can just about see them right there, you can see. But you can't see them because I've tucked away all underneath the whole way. And then just coming out here, which I'm going to run underneath the rest of the carpet, but you'll never see them. This one is a switched, it's an earth, so you can just earth this off to the ground. I'm going to put the cluster back in, show you what it looks like back in, that there's no difference, and I think I'm going to leave it at that for today. And now that's the cluster back in, no difference, doesn't sit anywhere weird. The connectors are in the back there and you wouldn't even know a single thing. So that's that for now. We're going to move on now to the Heldex another day, which is going into this module. But I think at that, we're going to leave it at that for today. And yeah, at least you now know one step on how to build a 4-wheel drive GTI. Hope it helps a bit.